And we are here with reggae music artist Chante, one of the best in Hawaii music right now. Definitely put a name to his music this year and throughout the years that he's been in music. Just want to ask you, how are you? And, what's the present like been for you during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Thanks, man. This year has been definitely a tough one as far as gigs going down, and we got a lot of canceled live performances. Pretty much my main income stream has just completely stopped. We just had to adapt and learn how to cope with these stay-at-home orders and take everything online, which I think as musicians and artists we should have already been doing, but I guess we've been taking it for granted, and now we're forced to take all of our performances online and just have a better online presence on social media.
Now, when you were growing up, was music, like your first love, or did you have any other career goals at the time you were growing up?
When I was a kid, definitely was always surrounded by music. My dad used to always have jam sessions in the backyard. It was never really a immediate thing at first. I played the ukulele with them. I never really fell in love with it till maybe about middle school, just creating lyrics at first. And then during high school, I was in a reggae band from my junior year all the way till maybe about 2013 or 14, a band called Soul Roots. We kind of did a lot of learning during that time as far as how the business goes and our musicianship. It definitely helped me grow. The first time we did a live performance was in high school, and I can say that's when I kind of really fell in love with it. My senior year in high school, we entered a bunch of contests for like Brown Bags of Stardom and a bunch of band contests, and it kind of grew on me from there.
So since at the time it grew on you, what could you say at that time that you enjoyed about it?
I definitely love the live performances and seeing people I know enjoy watching me perform. Just that feeling alone kind of made me want more. Crowd's reactions, like, because normally, if I don't know you really, I'm kind of a quiet person, and it's kind of, I guess they're kind of surprised when I take stage, and it's like I become another person, I guess, and that's kind of fun for me. It's like a little persona.
So in music, who were some of your inspirations in music, and where would you say that you draw your creativity from?
A lot of people are surprised, but I don't not listen to reggae at all, but I love R&B, neo soul, hip hop. I like the 2000 R&Bs and hip hop, like Usher, Chris Brown. A guy that I've been listening to a lot, and I'm not sure if too much people know about him, is Ibrahim. He was a YouTube, I guess you can say, looper. And then I kind of followed him from there. And then he only has maybe one album out and a couple singles, and I've been stuck on his album. And I just love the neo soul vibe. Chords is what kind of catches my attention. Super R&B feel. Of course, the great Bob Marley, Oswald, the kind of new reggae revival guys, Chronics, Protege. I kind of like their style because they're kind of pushing towards like a hip hop reggae sound. And eventually I would want to go that way as well. But I'm just trying to get my hold in the market with original or reggae music, and then kind of slowly dive off into, I don't know if it's experimental reggae or like hip hop reggae.
Your latest single, Lover's Delight, just recently came out.
La Pana, also known as produced by Pana, and he's done like work with Kaikena Scanlon, Sammy Johnson. He's working on some songs with J Bug, and so he was actually in my reggae band, and that's how we grew close, and he was a drummer, and I met him at the melee program at HCC. And from there, we kind of stuck together. Him and my bass player, Clandon, we've kind of stuck since college. He came over to my house. He was creating the beat. While he was creating it, I just kind of heard a melody in my head, which was the chorus. I kept repeating it, repeating it. Before I could forget it, I asked him if I could just lay it down, and it was just humming with the little words here and there. And then I think I wrote the rest of the song either that day or the next day. And normally for me, when I write songs, it takes sometimes months to finish a song. But this one was kind of a quick one, and the song was just. I like to write my songs maybe third person looking at the situation. This one just kind of talks about being loved right, and you are the only fit for me as far as the love situation goes, and that kind of vibe.
It's definitely a great song.
Thank you.
You've written a lot of great songs, you know, Fighting For, which has been on the radio, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
Another song that's one of my favorites, Some Loving. So how did you create that song? And, you know, what was the inspiration behind that one?
Actually, I got the original beat from a friend out in Maui, Matt Casil. He sent me a folder of beats, and that one stuck out to me right away. At first, I wrote to that rhythm maybe a week at the most to write down. And I've collabed with a bunch of guys at Kalani. He helped me with some melody lines. Glenn for the horn lines. So he's out in California. And I don't want to mispronounce his last name, but I think it's like Holdaway. He put together a two-piece horn section, and he recorded the horns up in California. Calvin on the drums on that. That one was a big collaborative project. I wanted a bunch of different minds to kind of create the vibe for this song. As far as the writing, that one was I think I wrote that one with Kalani, if I'm not mistaken. Down as well. I always like to take that third person view. A lot of people think I go through the things in my songs, and some of them I do, some of them I don't. But it's kind of just telling a story through the songs. That one was a another quick one, and I can say that's probably one of my favorite reggae songs for my own.
Which was going to be my next follow-up question to you. Out of all the songs that you've written, which one would have had to have been your favorite?
I like Some Lovin', and I think my runner up would have to be Looking. That one was kind of a under the radar song, and not too much people know about it, but that's probably one of my favorite productions as far as like the the rhythm and the mix and the song itself.
You've been doing music for quite some time. You've done performances as well, great performances, I would say. What have been some of your memorable experiences in music so far?
Just performing in general, I think I've had some goals set from high school that I wanted to travel the world, or at least to the states, playing music. And I believe my mark for that was before I turned, or when I'm 21. By the time I'm 21, I achieved that goal. I've been on a tour with Jimmy Weeks, CLC, Kivini Vaitai, and we toured the west coast of the mainland. And I also toured with J-Boog in Japan, Guam, Australia, New Zealand. Just that setting my goals as far as that from high school kind of was a great achievement for me. I think another one that I remember specifically was to perform at Waikiki Shell before 21 as well, and I've gotten to do that. Now, I guess you can say my next goal is to kind of perform out of country as myself. So I played at Japan already and Guam. I want to perform as Shunt in France, Japan, the whole UK, and just get out of country from now. There's actually a big reggae scene in France and the UK. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a lot bigger than the mainland reggae scene. Just when I watch live performances of the crowds there, it's like a football stadium or bigger than football stadiums, and they're just filled from the front all the way to the back. It's crazy to see how much people love reggae music, and that's one of my stops that I want to go to is UK and France.
You've had success in music for quite some time now. If your career wasn't in music, what do you think your career would have been?
Before I went full time with music, which was after high school, I used to be a volleyball player in high school. I had a scholarship to go to a school in California. It wasn't a big school. I think I would have been playing sports if it wasn't for music. But for some reason, I always think I would get into music somehow because I remember back then in high school, I wanted to go to a school that had some kind of music program. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can picture myself in any other career. But another thing I do enjoy is like the numbers games, as far as like the business side of the music. Just building something from scratch kind of gives me excitement. Just building the Shunt brand from zero, because I went from having a band. I wouldn't say we were huge, but we were getting some good traction, starting back at zero and like restarting, like, okay, idea behind the brand that I want to build and how am I going to build it. So I think like the business side of things, if I wasn't in music, I would be on the business side of things as well.
The name Shant. How did you come up with that name and what was the inspiration behind that?
Like I was saying before, France has a huge market. Chant in French is I sing. And since I wanted to later or somehow go into the France market with reggae music, that was kind of my, not my way in, I guess, but just to kind of be like familiar with the French market. That was the main thing behind it at first. And it's just to kind of be more universal, people not branding me to one specific area or genre. My name is a Hawaiian name. I didn't want to be stuck in like a Hawaii market. I kind of wanted to expand. So Shunt was kind of the way, my way out, I guess. Not too much people notice, but if you look at my Shunt logo, it's not really centered. It's a rectangle, but it's not in the middle of the rectangle. It's kind of on the bottom. That was to kind of show that I'm starting from the bottom again, and as a solo artist. That's why it's not centered in the middle yet. Me, my boy Clandon from HCC, the name came up between us two maybe 3 4 years ago when I first started. That was the main thing we were looking for to kind of start my new branding, I guess, because the band just broke up. The band Soul Roots, we still all talk to each other. The other lead singer, Royce, I'm still very good friends with him. Pana is the drummer. I'm good friends with him, and he's still producing music. Clandon, he's helping me manage my stuff, giving me ideas. Our guitar player, Derek, he's still doing sounds for me once in a while. I think it was a great learning experience from Soul Roots, and I'm just glad it didn't break up in a bad way. But yeah, so basically, Shunt is to hopefully later on in the future reach out to the France market.
So knowing that you've had a lot of success in the music industry, what is something that you wish you would have known?
Patience. And I can't say I didn't know that because a bunch of people told me, wait, plan it out. And I was so eager when I was younger to just, as soon as I finish a song, release it, release it, release it, release it. And there was no real plan to kind of like strategically place yourself in the market and kind of let a song ride out for this many, for a month or two, and kind of have already a next song ready to pump out and kind of be consistent with your stuff. Even to this day, I'm still a little inconsistent with my releases, and I would like to release a lot more. And definitely in 2021, I have an EP. I'm working on an EP now, and I want to drop maybe 3 or 4 singles before, or two before, two after, to kind of stay relevant with the reggae scene. And if everything works out well as far as the COVID goes, I'm hoping to do some kind of jump on tour next year or the year after that.
What are ways in your career that you've been able to stay elevated or be able to stay on top of your career?
With being a full-time musician, it's kind of hard as far as like discipline goes because I work from home. I have a little studio set up in one of my rooms. I guess the hard part is just waking up and saying, "Okay, get up, work on something," and not be lazy with stuff. It's kind of been crazy because I can't even go anywhere anyway. So I've been kind of honing in on some of my production skills. And to help me stay on top of it, I would just say maybe competition. I like to have competitions with other local artists like Johnny Sweet, the artist Fia, and they're close in our camp as well. You know, when they release something, I want to release something just as good or if not better. Just seeing other reggae artists kind of keeps me on top as far as wanting to do more and, you know, push the limits as far as my sound goes, write more songs, and just self discipline. I would say you got to be real disciplined, especially if you're a full time artist or musician.
When you were starting out in your music career, what were some of the early challenges or some of the adversities that you had to overtake?
I guess when we first started, we still were the young bucks in the music scene here in Hawaii. I wouldn't say nobody was taking us like not seriously. I'm not sure what the word is for that, but I felt like we had to, as young musicians and artists, we had to prove ourselves to the OGs in the scene and kind of make our name for ourselves. When we first started with my old reggae band, Soul Roots, we were super consistent and persistent as far as like, hey, can we play the show? You know, we're just trying to get out there. Can we play the show? And there was a point in our careers where we're performing at the Republic every weekend, and I would say that was like our weekend hangout spot because we're literally there every weekend for maybe 6 months straight. I would say there's probably a couple weekends where we weren't playing, but it pretty much felt like every weekend. Just from that alone, we kind of grew within the music community. That led us to more opportunities as far as, you know, gigging with other bands, going on tours. That's how I landed a mainland tour with Jimmy Weeks performing or playing keyboards for them. As young musicians, you just want to showcase yourself. We were performing with a bunch of people that we looked up to. I remember in high school, we used to watch Overdrive Live, which was a, I'm not sure if people still remember what that is, but it was a music video show for Hawaii artists. And I remember specifically watching Kaipo Kapua's video, and I told my mom I'm gonna play with that guy one day and, you know, perform with him. And sure enough, maybe a couple years after high school, you know, we somehow linked up. My mom reminded me of that story. It's like, hey, I remember, isn't that guy that you said you were gonna perform with? A bunch of bands like Ukla the Mock. Now I know their names specifically: Mr. 83, Koa Uka, Micah G, The Green, J Bug. There's a whole bunch of people that inspired us as, you know, high school musicians, and now we get to kind of perform alongside them or with them. I kind of veered off and down as well, but yeah, I just enjoy that kind of stuff.
You talk about music and you talk about the guys who paved the way in music. What would you say overall is your opinion on the Hawaii music scene, especially in the genre that you're in?
I'd say it's a very small scene after you get in it. So you can either go great for you, or if you mess up as far as like, you know, doing shady things, then it'll be recognized real quick and the whole scene will know really quick. It's a family vibe for sure. The reggae Hawaii music scene, and everyone knows each other. As far as the other genres is like rock and hip hop, I'm not too sure about that. I personally don't think it's too big, but I know some people that's in it, and actually some of the reggae guys are actually in the rock scene as well. Like the reggae scene in Hawaii is the best to make money because there's always reggae shows, or not this year, but last year. There's a lot more jobs for reggae music here in Hawaii, but when it comes to like rock, I think there there are smaller shows, and if there are bigger shows, they're usually like mainland bands, and to kind of get onto a card like that, I would think is a little hard. But yeah, the reggae music scene is super small and tight as far as that goes.
So presently in music, you're working on an EP, and, What are some of the future projects that we should be looking out for?
I want to do a 5 song EP with 4 singles, two before and two after. And I kind of want to be more visual with my music as far as videos go. I think that right now I'm lacking a lot of visuals as far as music videos, or I can't remember. Do you know what they call the, it's not like a music video, it's just like a music trailer that, it's not like they're singing the video. I'm not too sure what it's called, but it's like just visuals for the music, the songs. I definitely want to get more involved with my music videos. After that EP and singles, I just want to keep dropping more singles. Hopefully, when the time is right, I want to drop an album, which probably would be not 2021, but maybe 2022.
Have you thought about what the album will consist of?
10 songs and choose the top 5. Right now, I think I'm only at about 4 or 5 songs. I have some favorites already, and it's kind of diverse as far as the reggae genre. Like, it's not like Some Lovin' all the way through the whole EP. I touch upon dancehall stuff. I have a song like Some Lovin', and also some slower, rootsy songs. There's no set, I guess, idea just yet. I think once I come up with the 10 songs, then I can kind of solidify the idea behind it. But I can tell you, I'm maybe about 80% sure the EP name is going to be Dem Not Ready. And I think it just fits well with what I'm trying to do. So that's one of the singles off of the EP.
And the reason behind that title.
Fits as far as like the world isn't ready for, the kind of style that I want to bring out. And they're just not in a cocky way, but I'm just saying they're just not ready for what I want to do in the music scene, I guess you can say. And that specific song kind of talks about that. I just think it's a very fitting title for my first debut EP.
What advice would you give someone who's pursuing a career in the music industry?
A lot of it is your typical don't give up kind of thing, because it really is, especially in this. And there's a lot of hard people or criticism in this industry. In high school, I actually was not looking to be a singer at all. I did. I started off with doing like 1 or 2 songs in the band, and then I started doing maybe 3, 4 songs, and then it went to like half the set was my songs that I wanted to sing. When I first started, there was a bunch of not haters, but people like, "What he sings? He's trying to sing." And I think with practice and consistency, persistence, you can definitely make it far. And I watch some of my old videos now, and I can see the growth personally from where I started to now. And I feel like I'm a lot more comfortable on stage. And I still wouldn't 100% say I'm a full singer, but I'm still learning. You can never stop learning in this industry. And once you think you know it all, I think that's when you actually will start failing. Just being consistent, persistent, and trying not to let the negativity bring you down.
In your career, who are you mostly thankful for?
First and foremost would have to be my parents, because a lot of people would say, why don't you get a real job, and why don't you do this and do that? And last year specifically, I started gigging hard, trying to make more of my gigs on paper rather than cash, just to show income. It kind of pushed me as far as like, you can't let them down, and you want to prove them right, I guess you can say. Supported me with a bunch of my gigs and a bunch of my ideas. I get some crazy ideas, like my most recent one, Drive By Project Grad. We took a semi truck with a trailer, and we drove around the island and performed for 4 high schools as like a project grad for them. It's pretty stressful as far as getting it all together, but it worked out well, and the kids enjoyed it. Yeah, so that'll definitely be my number one. My parents, I would say. Next in line would be Clandon. He's kind of helped me think out ideas. He's a good strategist, I guess you can say. Helped me build my whole Shunt brand from the beginning. We set some ideas, and we're kind of still sticking to those ideas to this day. Clandon helped me out with a bunch of musical ideas. My daughter and girlfriend inspire me as well. They make sure I keep pushing, don't get lazy, keep making money. it definitely inspired me to do more with my music career.
In your career, what would you like your legacy to be?
I would like to be remembered more as a businessman. So after my journey as a solo artist, I would want to have at least enough momentum to, start up new businesses, open up a studio, a clothing brand, a bunch of umbrella companies under Shunt because, I have already created a name for myself as far as the reggae scene, and I kind of just want to expand, do more for the Hawaii business scene. Hope that music can be a platform for me to expand my business ventures, and I just want to be known as someone that or especially to my daughter, I want her to know that, later on in life she looks up and she's like, oh yeah, that's my dad, and she's like proud to tell her friends that that's my dad and this is what he does, and just leave a mark on the not just the Hawaii reggae scene but just the reggae scene in general. I kind of want to be an international reggae artist.
And we are here with reggae artist Chante. Wish you all the best. Keep up the great work, brother.
Thanks for having me.